Hi, I'm Sean from Patriot Supply in Ashland, Missouri. Today we're going to install a Daniel defense rail. A lot of different AR-15s on the market. Some come with a handguard that's a quad rail, some do not. We have a customer that's bringing in a Daniel defense and wants an Omega rail installed. It should be fun. Hey, it's Sean back here at Patriot Supply in Ashland, Missouri. Got a little project we're going to work on for our customer Luke. He brought in a complete AR-15. He had to go run some errands, so we just took the upper half and kept it here. That way we don't have to log in his lower and log it back out to him. What Luke wants us to do today is to put on a Daniel Defense Omega rail. Daniel Defense, Marty Daniel, founder and CEO, American-made products, good stuff. Out of the box, you've got the rail. It's very lightweight and strong. It comes with a little hardware kit because it does use a proprietary barrel nut, but there's no instructions. So rather than look up how to do this, we're just going to figure it out. It'll be more fun that way. First of all, you notice it's a two-piece rail. Comes with rubber ladder panels to cover the rail for comfort. You're going to have to pull those off to get to what we need to do here. There's one screw holding it in place. Select the correct gunsmith size screwdriver tip. See what happens when we remove this screw. Then it looks like we have two pieces of rail to work with now. We're going to remove the standard hand guards. I think we've showed this before in other videos. Put it here on your hip, tap on it, pull it off, tap and pull. We're going to remove the bulk carrier and charging handle. There's a little set of ears on charging handles. You can see those only install in a certain way. But once the bolt carrier is out of the way, lift up on it, pull that out. Usually, not always, but in general, if the pins are going to be removed from an AR-15 or most firearms, usually the pins go out the same way the brass would, and when they're reinstalled they go back in the opposite direction. We're going to use a vise block. A couple different ways we could have done this. I'm going to simply place it in the vise block, support the other end with another polymer block to prevent any damage to the finish. And then we need a little roll pin punch. What we're going to do is remove the roll pin that holds the gas tube in place. Put that on there. If it doesn't move easily, you want to stop and apply a penetrating oil. But it feels like this one's going to come right out of there. Now that we've got the gas tube out, we might want to have it on here to manipulate the gas tube out of the way. You don't have one of these gas or vise blocks, you could have your friend hold it or wrap it up in a towel and clamp it down to the table. That'll prevent you damaging the finish. The gas tube isn't that hard to manipulate. A lot of times you can do it by hand, but this tool is really cool. Open it up, it'll grab hold of the gas tube and allow us to work it out. You might want to replace your gas tube during this process because cleaning them is difficult and usually not totally effective. They'll last for several thousand rounds, but a new gas tube is usually only about 15 bucks. So not a bad idea to put a new one in. Well, we got the gas tube off, and I think probably it'd be a good idea to go ahead and remove the flash hider. You can take a red rag, Any shop towel work if you want to prevent scratching it. Put that on there. Remove the front flash hider. You notice one side is convex and one is concave on the crush washer. It installs like this to protect the barrel. We've modified our armorer's wrench slightly by using a receiver extension. Place that on the barrel. Go back, lock it in. Take off the barrel nut. And once we get to this point, one of the things you'll always remember to do when you reinstall a barrel nut is to lubricate your male threads. Any type of high temperature capable lubricant will work, and that'll keep it from seizing on there should you have to remove it to replace the barrel in the future. Now we're going to place the front sight post on a block. These guys have gotten a little tricky on us. It says pins in, but apparently Daniel Defense, at least on this run of barrels, decided to put one of the taper pins in from each direction. That can be a little frustrating at times. And tap those out. Looks like it's starting to move a little bit. Always wear safety glasses when you're doing anything with a hammer and a punch. Taper pins might look like they're the same dimension, but if you place them on a flat surface, you'll notice that they don't roll in a straight line because one end is larger than the other. Nope, that's the one that's backwards. Awesome. Once you've knocked your pins out, you want to lubricate. Today we're using Black Rain Ordnance water displacement formula just because it happens to be handy. That'll prevent us from scratching the barrels. We slide the front sight post forward. Alright, tap on this a little bit. Front sight post off. End guard cap off. Barrel intact, ready for a new install. Delta assembly comes off now. There's a locator pin on the barrel that'll go on the top of the receiver. Daniel Defense supplies a proprietary barrel nut that we'll install. That's why we had to take the whole upper completely apart, including removing the front sight post, which was not a joy. Now there's a lot of different opinions about the torque required to install the barrel nut correctly. Normally it kind of depends on where you're at with your gas tube placement through a standard barrel nut. This one doesn't have a ridge. Your old one, the barrel nut has to end at a certain position for the gas tube to pass through it. This one does not. It actually sits lower. So we're going to run this up pretty snug. Once we've got the barrel nut in place, we're going to have to put the front sight post back on there. Aha, front sight post. It's very important that the gas port end up in the same place as the hole in your front sight post because that serves as your gas block. Since there were taper pins, it'll be impossible for us to miss that. I guess anything's possible. Number one end is bigger than the other, and we had quite a bit of fun with that earlier. when it's positioned correctly, it should fall in there most of the way on its own. You really don't want to put one of them in all the way until you have the other one started, so that you don't put it in a bind. You should be able to drive it in most of the way with the neoprene side of the hammer. And if you're having to force it, you don't have it back in the original position. Now we can reinstall the gas tube. You'll notice on the gas tube there is a hole in the front where the gas comes in, and then it goes back, goes into the top of the gas key on your bolt carrier. The gas tube tool is extremely useful. Gas tubes are made of 404 grade stainless steel. It was developed for people in the beverage industry. It's very strong and light. You want your gas tube to have its hole that lets the gas on the bottom. And as you're moving it into the front sight post, which is your gas block, you should be able to look through here and see daylight. A female roll pin holder helps you put this in a little more easily. This is a female roll pin holder 2S. We'll get it started with the female roll pin holder. Once you've got it started with that, then you'll need a male roll pin punch. Should still be able to see daylight through there, and it feels like we got it in the right place. And the next thing is to apply our hand guard. I don't know if Daniel Defense sends instructions with their product, but the customer brought this box in and it did not have instructions. Notice on most of your high quality hand guard quad rail systems, they'll have what we call T markings. On the B, on the bottom it'll have B and a number, what slot it is. That way if you have a certain setup where you have a flashlight, a laser, or a vertical grip, and you need to take the rifle apart or have another rifle put together that's an exact duplicate, the armor in advance can prepare a weapon system for you that has, whatever device, R on the right, L markings on the left, T on the top, P on the bottom, and you could specify that you wanted a PAC-15 laser mounted on the right hand side at R39, for instance. Now it looks like all you have to do is apply the screws to hold it in place. Screws supplied by Daniel Defense have some type of polymer washer on them. I'm going to put these in here, in the right hole, not the wrong hole. Might be easier to just lay it down for this part. First we're going to tighten these up, and then there's some Allen wrenches supplied that we'll use to tighten the screws up that will actually cause it to connect to the barrel nut. Kind of interesting, it looks like with these screws here, they may take up one of your access points in the Picatinny rail, where some accessories may not be able to be placed there because they don't go down very far. On this side, looks like it's a pretty strong rail. Very tiny Allen wrench supplied. It's important to try to make sure that your Picatinny rail matches up. One little trick for that is you could install a carry handle on there temporarily to hold things in place. Yeah. Put a carry handle on here to hold it in place. I had to torque down every single one of these little screws in here, which only has enough room for about a quarter turn, and that part took a long time. It comes with 3 ladder panels. We can reinstall those now. Daniel Defense.